Well, hello and welcome again to Edison Light Globe's video. I'm Phil Greenwood, and today, even though we've talked about it before, we've touched on it, what I thought we'd do is we'd go through the critical parts that pertain to the attachment of lamp holders to plumbing pipe. Now, we see a lot of plumbing pipe lights done overseas, and we get questions here in the workshop, and often people assume you can get a plastic socket or lamp holder and glue it into plumbing pipe and it'll be fine. Now, whilst it might work, it's probably not the best thing to do, so we've made a range of components like this little jigger here, which I'll show you a bit about. Now, this part is what we have made specifically to mate a 1/2 inch BSP or NPT plumbing pipe thread from water pipe and water pipe fittings to a lamp holder or socket type thread on the inside. So what that means is a direct thread between the two. Now, in order to explain this, probably I should explain firstly, we're going to describe both 240 volts for plumbing pipe wiring and also 120 volts for North America. Now, the two are very different. There's different compliance, there's different requirements, there's different ways that you can approach it. We approach it in a very similar way, but it's complicated by explanation. So we'll get to that when we get to it. The first one I'm going to do is a standard E27 directly onto plumbing pipe, and hopefully it'll explain exactly how to connect the easiest way to a plumbing pipe. Now, what we've got here is firstly a male thread, which is 1/2 inch plumbing pipe, BSB, a British Standard Pipe, BSP, or NPT, National Pipe Standard or Pipe Thread, something like that. I don't know what they call it in North America. However, what we have is a thread that'll go over those. So we'll go in close and we'll have a look at that. That should thread on, and you could get a spanner and tighten that up. That will be your starting point. Now, the next thing you want to get is the top of this 1/2 inch threaded entry to E27 lamp holder with its 1/2 inch thread in the top, and you want to push your wire through, and that will go somewhere inside there. It's not going to undo, is it? No. And that will screw in tight. Now, there is a small screw in here to clamp that thread, but there is nothing on the top to secure the thread, so you may want to glue just the top part of that 1/2 inch brass thread to secure it. Now, I'm not going to do it because I'm going to undo it again, so I'm not going to explain it. Now, obviously the next thing you would do is you would wire in the cable into the connector, or what do you call this, the terminal, the ceramic terminal, and push that in. I'm not going to do it because I'm going to undo it again. And then you would attach the body of the lamp holder. So you do that tight. So that's the simplest way to attach plumbing pipe to an E27 brass lamp holder. Now, just while I'm here, I'll explain, just in case you have a different type of pipe, different colour. You can paint this, obviously, if you wanted to do brass. We do have a brass one. You can use brass fittings if you want. Wish that was tight. So yeah, a brass one. You could use a shiny brass lamp holder. A lot of ways to do this. So that's the 1/2 inch. Look, the other thing with the 1/2 inch too, I have got it here somewhere. It's gone. Disappeared. There it is. You can attach, obviously, bayonet lamp holders. So we've got a brass lamp holder here, B22, which has a 1/2 inch threaded entry as well, and that could go in on the end as well, sort of. I think the E27 works better. So we'll start again with this, and we'll go to a lamp holder that people often get to use for this, and that's a Bakelite lamp holder. It's a bit cheaper. It doesn't have an earth, so you have to use double insulated cable for 240 volts. Same sort of thing. You put in a 10mm all thread into the top, and we have, we'll do this one, we have the same sort of device, but with a 10mm hole, we attach that to our pipe, and then we'll insert probably just 2 cables, and I've got 3 here, so it's a bit hard, but probably just a twin cable, active and neutral, and then we would thread that in. Obviously, this wouldn't be on, and you would wire that the way we'd normally wire E27 Bakelite lamp holders. So, as you can see, I'm just going to do it. Again, you might want to glue with thread locker, but that provides a fairly strong adherence into the fitting so that it can't come undone, it can't get loose. If you've got a chance that they might get damaged, the Bakelite obviously is not as strong as the brass and it will break, so make sure if you're using these, probably best not to have them accessible where people can smash them. Now I'm going to take that off, and again we have this component obviously on our website, and we have it in like just a normal nickel plate, and we also sell them as a black, painted black. This is powder coat black. Simple. Now the other method of doing this, I'm going to have to take that out, and that's in really tight, isn't it, Louis?
That's in tight.
So what I need is a shifter to undo this, to take it off. Which way does it go? Anti-clockwise? Anti-clockwise. So we take the nipple out, because we don't need the nipple for this explanation. So the other thing we're going to do is going to use this plumbing pipe coupler. It's very important. This is 1/2 inch to 1.25 inch coupler, and we've got one here in raw steel. And the idea of this is we're going to have a lamp holder inside the 1.25 inch part. Now, I'll roughly explain how that's done. I think we've done this before, but maybe we'll go through the elements and what parts you need to do that. Probably my glasses would be handy to do that, but I can't do that. Well, that's pretty right. So what we're going to do is try and get that inside there. Now to do that, I've got to actually put it on properly, but to do that we've got to machine a few parts. That's horrible. Yeah, do that up. What we've got to do is we've got to machine a couple of parts. We've got to take out a little bit of this thread. We might just smooth out inside the end there, but we've got to make sure that there's just enough room for that, what is a 38mm hole socket. Now Louis fixed that up for me, that's fantastic. So you'll see that it sort of goes in, but it gets a little bit stuck. So we'll take that out. Now, Loyla's going to show us how to do that later, but the other thing we've got to do is we've got to have a nipple. Now, the nipple goes into the 1/2 inch plumbing pipe end, and you can see it's all a little bit wobbly. So what we also need to do is machine the end of the hex nipple. We need to machine that flat so that we've got a good flat surface, because what we're going to do is we're going to add a little washer there, and we're going to put this washer on. No, I'll put this washer on. 10mm. I'm going to need a 10mm thing, which is not there. There it is. I need one of those and one of those. So, a red washer, a cross washer, without my glasses, and a 10mm nut. And we'll notice as we go down, it's a bit long, so we're also going to shorten this brass all thread to the point where it's just right. So we'll make a mark and cut that off, but I'll do that up a little bit. And as we tighten, we go in. So we've sort of got to do everything at once, but it's essentially, I'm going to get that out of the way. What we end up with is this component as into a female end of the pipe. So you've got to make sure you're organised in advance. I don't think that'll go in. Won't go in because the ball thread's a bit long. However, you get the drift. So what I'll do is I'll machine the parts and I'll show them to you again later so that we can attach this properly. So you've seen how Louis does these all threads. You can see he's got a Dremel. He's taking out a bit of thread in the coupler to make room for the lamp holder. Now, you could use a Dremel, you could use a file, you could use a chisel, whatever you can use to get some of that thread out. It doesn't have to be a million times accurate. But you can see now, this now actually fits in reasonably good. You see that it goes in without getting stuck on the thread. So the other thing we needed to do was to shorten the all thread, and you'll see we just cut it off with a hacksaw, get it to the right length, everything's cool. Now, after we've finished all that, we can then attach our all thread to the lamp holder and insert that into our coupler, our 1.25 inch coupler. You'll see that fits pretty good. Now, we want to get a nice fit on there. So what we can do is use I'll put that on there, other way?
Yeah, other way.
Other way. Oh, no, way we're going. You can use a little part we've got, which is it'll still go in. We've got a little part that goes in that's a 10mm to 1/2 inch. Goes straight in and stays in. Yeah. So that will go in and hold inside there and make a flat surface. We can keep screwing that up tight, but that's pretty good. And then all we need is a 10mm nut on the end of that. There it is. And we can do that up pretty tight. Now, ordinarily, I'll just do this. I've screwed that back. I'll do that up tight. Ordinarily, what we would have done is, whilst we were building this, we would have wired in our wires, and that would have fed into our light fitting. But on this occasion, since we've already got the wires here, we'll assume that we're doing it the other way around, but we'll just show you how it works. So this then will attach, again, 3 wires, so we need an earth in here, so a combined earth, 3 cables. We use specific cables. We've got another video we'll show you up there, which is about wiring and the type of wire we use and the double insulation and what it's for. But there we go, we have a hidden sort of lamp holder inside plumbing pipe. Now what this does, we use occasionally for this purpose a little neoprene washer, and the little neoprene washer will go up the top below the 1.25 inch socket around the lamp holder, and then you could install a steel shade on here, which I don't have with me, but a steel shade. Then what that does is it gives you an IP rating of IP44. Now what that means is ingress protection, IP from a particular direction, obviously not underneath. Now IP rating is a way of determining ingress protection for safety in most countries that are 240 volts. In North America, I think there is a damp rating system. I don't know if they use IP ratings. We've got a link on our website to IP ratings. What that means, quite a few, and what they do. But this is the type of thing we're talking about, a shade that's specifically made to go over our 38mm lamp holder. We do that up inside there, and we end up with a reasonable seal from the top. So obviously all the water pipe is waterproof. This is a waterproof seal, and we get an IP rating. So that's a really good way to get IP44 pretty simply. There is another video we've got which talks about the encasement here to fully enclose the light globe to give you a higher IP rating, so that water could come from any direction and it's still waterproof. That's in another video, but for now we're just talking about IP44. It's very simple, and you could use this outdoors in some locations for 240 volt, 240 volt use. So let's take that off, because what I thought I'd do is explain now for North American customers who are wanting to do a DIY plumbing pipe light. We use the same components in a slightly different sort of way. Again, 120 volts, 110 volts, slightly different compliance. You probably still want to use double insulated cable, but not this cable, obviously specific 120 volt cable. If you want to use Bakelite, I've just got to find a little piece that is 10 mil. I can't find it. It's disappeared. It's disappeared. Hey? Oh, there it is. I'll put it in there. So I'm going to put that in there. It's stuck in there. I'll explain it. What I'm going to use is a 10 mil all thread and one of our 10 mil components. Again, you could use thread locker to lock that on. There is a little screw there to screw on one side of the lamp holder, socket, sorry. Now, this thing's a bit long, so I don't know if I can get it in. Yeah, hex nipple. Oh, yeah, I've forgotten the hex nipple. It's confusing me. So maybe we'll get it in now. So, the cable's a bit long, but anyway. So we end up with this type of arrangement. And you can go tighter, tighter, tighter with all this stuff and keep going, and close it up a little bit. But that's not a bad look for 120 volt for North America in a Bakelite lamp holder. It's quite a nice lamp holder, socket. I keep calling them lamp holders. Got a word for everything in North America, and it's different to everyone else's, but that's okay. Socket. Now, the other thing we want to do is explain our E26 fitting that we use that's brass. And the reason we would use the brass is, again, just for a little bit, a slightly better, what do you call it, slightly stronger unit. So again, we just connect that up together. That's a 10 mil threaded entry E27 standard socket, just a little bit stronger. See that there. I don't do that without my glasses. Again, it looks similar, but in a solid brass, a little bit more robust. But obviously, this can come in a bronze, shiny brass, nickel. This is antique brass, so may suit a decor a little bit better. Now, the other thing, the last thing, hopefully we'll get there. The last thing we want to do is try to explain how we ended up making sure that our system would actually work in its entirety for a North American socket inside. I'll get that out. I can't get it out though. Inside a 1 1/4 inch coupler. So it's all coming undone. So we'll use the same 1 1/4 inch coupler. That's why. And we'll use, I don't know if that's too long now, is it? Might be too long. We actually put on a little nut, that's a 10 mil nut, just a little bit up, just to take the coupler away from, I suppose, this earth that we have in here. It looks about right. That might be a little bit long. I would like a shorter one. But again, I can put in the little 10 mil to 1/2 inch spacer, adapter, coupler, what's it called? Conversion. That just tightens up onto that nicely. A 10 mil nut. Again, we would have wired this previously so that we're putting it in wired. I don't think I can get all that in. Oh, it does go in, there you go. So, again, that goes in. Now, the issue we had was, like a lot of this, we're trying to make sure that one component fits everything. So because all our steel shades have a 40 mil hole, and this has some weird 27 mil hole or something, I don't know what it is, but anyway, we make a barrel adapter. Now this just screws onto the initial, or the standard thread, which is, means, I don't know, if anyone knows what it means, put it in the comments, I haven't got a clue. So we just cover that up so that we end up with a thread that's exactly the same as what we would have on our E27 lamp holder, but we've converted a socket essentially to the same thing. Now, again, what we can do, we can put a shade on there. Oops. We can put our little neoprene washer. Get up there. Not going in. This is not that tight at the moment, but you would do everything tight, trust me. Put our shade ring on, somewhere in there, and we'd end up with an IP rating, or at least you can put a shade onto a E27 socket, and these can be quite large shades, so that you can make a light that has a shade that attaches in an elegant way to regular plumbing pipe. Now, I won't do that up tight, but you get the drift. So that's 110 or 120 volt North American compliant socket, so a UL listed socket, double insulated cable. If you start with larger pipe, you're still going to have to end up down here to 1/2 inch NPT, NTP, MPT. You just nodded at both of them then. NPT, so that you might have a reducer down from a 1 inch water pipe, but still, doesn't matter how many lights, doesn't matter what the configuration, if you end up with these ends, with these parts, it'll work bolted together, so there's no glue. And what the bolt together system means is that even for these, you can have a continuous earth connect through the whole fitting. So for E27 or for E26 120 volt, with an earth internal to the socket or to the lamp holder, that then bolted in creates the earth, the connection for earth through the whole light. It's very important. So we hope that that's explained the parts that we manufacture for plumbing pipe DIY lighting. They're all listed on the DIY hardware page. I think we've covered everything on the website. If we haven't, let us know. But we also have the glass containment, as I mentioned, and that's on both websites, North America and the international websites. So we should have everything for the DIY plumbing pipe enthusiast, if there is such a thing. So thanks for watching. If you like the video, subscribe, thumbs up, all that sort of stuff. We'll have another video in another couple of weeks. Until then, bye for now.